I observed the fact that the sound R is a weird sound, or should I say unique sound, because it has certain properties that basically make it unique in different language, not just in English, but interestingly in English, it is also more unique than you would think, like compared to the other consonants. Obviously, I put it in slashes, forward slashes. This means that this is a phoneme R, and it has different allophones in English. So now the question is, what are those allophones? So as you can see in the IPA chart, R is an alveolar sound, but we have a bunch of R's. We don't have one R. We have this R, then we have this flap R or tap R, and then we have the upside down R, which is an approximant, which is right above la. So the difference between ra and la, even in English, is minimal. It's just that ra is a central approximant, la is a lateral approximant. So R is a sound in English that has multiple allophones. R is so unique that there's actually a word in linguistics which is the adjective for R, which is rhotic. So rhotic, which is an adjective, basically means R-like, R-related, R-based, or R-ish. It comes from the rho, which is the name of the letter R in Greek. Basically, R is so unique in English that English dialects, all of the dialects of English, can be divided into two groups, rhotic and non-rhotic. In all dialects of English, you have the sound R. You pronounce the R, or you can pronounce the R. A rhotic dialect in English is a dialect in which the sound R is always pronounced. Always. That's the key. A non-rhotic dialect of English is a dialect in which R is sometimes not pronounced. What is a rhotic dialect of English? Like, what is an actual example of a rhotic dialect of English? North American English is typically known to be rhotic. Typically, you would expect the North American dialect of English to be rhotic in the sense that R is always pronounced. So when you have the R sound, when you have the phoneme R, so if you don't know what the difference is between phoneme and allophone, you should watch the video, What are Phonemes and Allophones? So you need to know the difference between phoneme and allophone. So the phoneme R in English has the allophone of R is this one. Like what? Like water, the last ra. This is a broad transcription for ram, rip, rest, roast, rom. So the sound ra in all of these is pronounced ra, which happens to be this sound, the approximant ra, the voiced alveolar approximant. Okay, but this doesn't tell anything about the rhoticity of this dialect. Because in all of these examples, the ra is happening syllable initially, which means in the beginning of the syllable, followed by a vowel. And those R's will be pronounced in non-rhotic varieties of English as well. But now I'm going to give other examples like cart or car, bear, share, and care. So R is pronounced at the end of the syllable. These are how these words are pronounced in a rhotic variety of English, which is, for example, such as General American English. But sometimes there is no R, and you pronounce an R. Okay, when does that happen? For example, so here you would expect the sound la somehow changing to a ra. Kernel. The scenario gets more interesting because sometimes you have a word in which there is no but a ra is inserted. In one of my videos, I talked about intrusive R in non-rhotic varieties of English, which I will get back to later in the video. But here, in a rhotic variety of English, you might have an intrusive R. So this is the symbol for nothing in phonology. So here, nothing becomes R. So example, this word, which is pronounced in German as Goethe, in English is very likely to be pronounced as Goethe. So this was an example of intrusive R in rhotic English.
All right, this evening's topic is Goethe.
So now you would ask, regardless of rhoticity, is there any other allophone for ra? Yes. So this ra, which is the typical Spanish ra, like perro for dog or pero for butt, you might think typically you don't hear this ra, the roll, like when you roll your tongue. You don't hear this ra. So which ra is that? This one. You see the one that is alveolar trill? This is a trill. In English, you wouldn't expect it, but there are varieties of English that have that ra. Like what? Like Scottish English.
Here in defiance of tyranny.
So you got the idea, tyranny. Because in a particular context, it's pronounced ra, like Spanish. Okay, this is a movie, so you might think that, oh, he's American, he was trained for the accent, but seriously, I have a real example of Scottish.
Commitment to a green, sustainable recovery.
There's two examples. So one is fictional, which is a movie, and then there's the actual example, which is the Parliament, a real Scottish person speaking. And so what is going on here? There's a trill as an allophone of R in English, in Scottish English. So non-rhotic, the best example of non-rhotic English is RP, or Standard British English. In Standard British English, you pronounce R only when it's followed by a vowel. When R is at the end of a syllable and it's not followed by a vowel, it's not pronounced. Or you could say when it's after a vowel and it's not followed by another vowel, you do not pronounce it. So examples, RP is pronounced RP. So the R is not pronounced because it's not followed by a vowel. In the word far, the R is not pronounced, it's pronounced fa. So you see it's syllable final, not followed by a vowel. It's not pronounced. In the word farm, it's not pronounced because it is in the syllable coda after the vowel and it's not followed by a vowel. So in the word far, it may be potentially pronounced if it's followed by a vowel, which is why I put it in parentheses. So, for example, the word far away, the R would be pronounced far away. Okay, so what's going on here? Sometimes you pronounce it, sometimes you do not pronounce it. Because in non-rhotic English, the R becomes nothing. Caught, hurt. Technically, you could say nothing is an allophone of R. When R is the last sound of the word, it may potentially be pronounced if it's followed by a vowel. You call the R a linking R because it may be linked to the next word. Tear. So you could say here the R has become a schwa if it's not pronounced. But when you want to say tear it, these are linking R's. So far, different varieties of R, nothing, schwa. 4 allophones of R. So in non-rhotic English, because we have the linking R, sometimes when a word ends in a vowel and there is no R, but is followed by a vowel, an R is inserted, although it doesn't exist. So in a way, when nothing becomes R, it's called intrusive R. Examples, law and order would be pronounced law and order. You see that R is intrusive. Instead of I saw it, they would say I saw it. So that R is intrusive R. I should go back to the word Goethe. Here it is intrusive R. So in the beginning of the video, when I mentioned water, I mentioned it because of the last R, because it is always pronounced in rhotic English. But now the T, which in American English is tapped. So here, because it is in a stressed syllable and it's in between two vowels, the T in this phonological environment would be tapped or flapped. Water, butter, bottle, you see? So this one in English, in rhotic English, is an allophone of T or D. It doesn't have anything to do with Ra. So if you want to know more about tapping or flapping, I have a specific video about this topic. When I mentioned water as an example of rhotic English, my focus was on the last R.